latest Browns news. Hold on. Before you scroll past, you need to know that 3 things just dropped about the Browns today, and every single one of them matters. Emmanuel McNeill-Warren had coaches talking in ways you don't usually hear this early. Jimmy Haslam just showed up somewhere that has Browns fans asking a very uncomfortable question. And RG3, yeah, Robert Griffin himself, just weighed in on Cleveland's quarterback battle in a way nobody saw coming. Hit that like button, because we're getting into all of it right now. Let's start with McNeill-Warren, and what Monken said about him could change how you see this entire draft class. Rookie minicamp just wrapped up in Berea, and honestly, the Browns might have found something special when it came from a pick most casual fans probably glossed right over. Emmanuel McNeill-Warren, safety out of Toledo, taken at number 58 overall in the second round of the 2026 NFL Draft. Not exactly the kind of pick that blows up your Twitter timeline the moment it happens, right? But after this weekend, the people actually watching him work in person are starting to talk differently about this kid. And when we say people talking, we mean Todd Monken, the Browns' brand new head coach, a guy who's been coaching football at the highest level for a long time, both in college and the NFL, was asked about McNeill-Warren after practice, and he did not hold back one bit. What you guys see, which is long, fast, anticipating, being physical, got unbelievable range again, Monken said. He's another one of those guys who has a smile on his face every day, loves football. It's what we saw when we met with him at the Combine, when he came here. Like, I think the sky's the limit. He wants to be an elite football player, and he goes about it the right way every day. The sky's the limit. That's not coach speak. That's a first-year head coach telling you in public that he believes this kid has elite potential. And Monken is not the type to throw compliments around just to make a rookie feel good. Now let's talk about why this pick makes even more sense when you look at the bigger picture. Cleveland doesn't have an urgent need at safety right now. Fine, but both Grant Delpit and Ronnie Hickman are heading into the final year of their deals, which means after this season, that safety room could look completely different. McNeill-Warren isn't just a depth piece. He's potentially the future at that position, and the front office was smart enough to grab him before someone else did. At 6'3" and 200 pounds, this guy has the kind of frame that defensive coordinators dream about in the back end of a defense. He wins with his length, his instincts, and his physicality. He doesn't wait for blockers to come to him. He goes and finds contact, in coverage. His range is legitimately impressive for a rookie who hasn't played a single NFL snap yet. What makes this whole thing even more interesting is the decision-making process that led to getting him. Cleveland was actually wrestling with the choice between McNeill-Warren and wide receiver Denzel Boston when they were on the clock in the second round. They ended up taking Boston first at pick 39, and then somehow came back around and grabbed McNeill-Warren at 58. They got both guys. Both of them. That's the kind of draft outcome that has a front office feeling like they beat the board. Monken is already moving McNeill-Warren around different safety alignments during minicamp, giving him reps in multiple spots rather than locking him into one role early. That versatility is going to be crucial as he adjusts to the speed and complexity of the NFL game. And look, it's one minicamp. Nobody is handing this kid a starting job based on 2 days of practice. But when a veteran coach with Monken's credentials watches a rookie and publicly says the ceiling is unlimited, that's not something you just brush off. McNeill-Warren might be exactly the kind of under-the-radar selection that looks like a steal in 2 or 3 years. And right now, it sure seems like the Browns know exactly what they found. Alright, McNeill-Warren looks like a real find. But now, we need to talk about something that just came out today and has Browns fans genuinely uneasy, because the guy who owns this team just stepped into a spotlight that has nothing to do with football. Jimmy Haslam just held a press conference. Nothing weird about that, right? Except this one wasn't about the Browns, it was about the Milwaukee Bucks. Here's the situation. Haslam and his wife Dee recently purchased a 25% minority stake in the Bucks for $800 million big investment. And this week, when the Bucks introduced their new head coach Taylor Jenkins, Haslam showed up at the podium, publicly on camera, and made it very clear that he plans to be a bigger presence in Milwaukee going forward. Do I think we'll be here more? I do. Haslam said at the press conference. Very, very excited to continue working with John, and we've already established a great relationship with Taylor to work with him and the guys to build the kind of team that this community deserves. Now, to be fair, Haslam isn't the only NFL owner with a stake in an NBA franchise. Stan Kroenke owns the Denver Nuggets. Gayle Benson owns the New Orleans Pelicans. Josh Harris owns the Philadelphia 76ers. Multi-sport ownership is a real thing in professional sports, and the Haslam Sports Group isn't going anywhere. His son-in-law J.W. Johnson is an executive and partner with the Browns, so the day-to-day isn't suddenly going unchecked. But here's the thing about Browns fans, and honestly, you can't blame them for being nervous. This is an ownership group that, by their own track record, has made some genuinely baffling decisions with this franchise over the past 14 years. The Johnny Manziel draft pick. The full commitment to a Moneyball front office experiment with Paul DePodesta that went sideways. And of course the Deshaun Watson deal in 2022, which gave a quarterback who's played just 19 games in 4 seasons a fully guaranteed contract worth over $230 million. One playoff win since 2012. That's the legacy. So when the guy at the top publicly says he's going to be spending more time with a different team, yeah, the fan base is going to have questions. That said, the 120-day offseason challenge Haslam laid out back in January does appear to have been met. He fired Kevin Stefanski, named Todd Monken as head coach within 3 weeks, and then watched GM Andrew Berry put together what looks like the most impressive draft the team has had since Berry joined in 2020. Spencer Fano and Casey Conception in the first round. The first time in franchise history, Cleveland drafted 2 wide receivers in the top 40 picks. Then Denzel Boston and McNeil Warren in the second. Solid foundation. The front office did the work. The draft was strong. The minicamp energy has been good. But the question that's now floating in the air over Cleveland is real. When the owner is publicly excited about building a winner in Milwaukee, how locked in is he on doing the same thing in Ohio? Browns fans have been waiting for a real commitment to winning for over a decade. The last thing they need is to feel like an afterthought. Okay, we need to shift gears, because this next one just broke today and it takes a totally different turn. An ex-Browns quarterback just made 2 moves at once, and both of them are worth talking about. This one you did not see coming. Robert Griffin III is out, just like that. RG3 had been one of the more compelling storylines heading into the summer. The former Heisman Trophy winner, former number 2 overall pick out of Baylor, former Pro Bowler and AP Offensive Rookie of the Year, was actually trying to make the 2026 USA Flag Football National Team. Not as a stunt, seriously competing, he was named to the 24-man training camp roster back on March 26th, one of 4 quarterbacks in the pool, fighting for a spot on the 12-man squad that will represent the United States at the IFAF Flag Football World Championship in Germany this August, which is also being used as a direct pipeline toward the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles, where flag football is making its Olympic debut. That was the goal, that was the plan, and then today Griffin pulled himself out of the process entirely. He explained it on X, and it actually comes from a place of genuine character. A commitment honoring our military veterans is preventing me from attending training camp, and that's not fair to the other 23 guys competing for a spot this year. Griffin wrote, "Looking forward to seeing the squad go to Germany and win gold, and still excited for LA 28. No drama, no excuses. He had a prior obligation to veterans, he refused to bail on it, and he stepped aside rather than take a roster spot from someone who could actually be there. USA Football released a statement saying they appreciated everything he brought and would welcome him back next year. Clean exit. But here's where it gets interesting for Browns fans specifically, because before stepping away, Griffin also weighed in publicly on Cleveland's quarterback competition, and he did not mince words. The Browns are heading into OTAs with Deshaun Watson and Shedeur Sanders both on the roster, both competing for the starting job. Dillon Gabriel is also in the mix, but when asked who he'd start if the decision were his, Griffin went straight to Sanders, no hesitation. "If I was in the decision-making chair, who should be my starter? When we start in OTAs and we go to our first mandatory minicamp, I'm starting Shedeur Sanders," Griffin said. "When you step into the huddle, do you believe that you have a chance to win with the guy that is in the huddle with you at quarterback?" The Cleveland Browns locker room believes they can win with Shedeur Sanders. They don't believe they can win with Deshaun Watson. They don't believe that they can win with Dillon Gabriel. That's a strong statement, and the numbers from Sanders' rookie year actually back up the confidence in the building. He started 7 games, went 3-4 as a starter, threw for 1,400 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions. Not a world beater stat line, but the team won games with him. That matters. Watson, meanwhile, has played just 19 games in 4 seasons with Cleveland. The fully guaranteed contract, the injuries, the drama. The fan base has largely moved on emotionally, and it sounds like the locker room has too, at least according to Griffin. RG3 might not be suiting up for USA football this summer, but he still managed to drop one of the more honest takes on the Browns QB room that you'll hear all offseason. 3 Browns stories, 3 different emotions, excitement about McNeil Warren, real concern about where Haslam's focus is, and a QB battle that sounds more settled than the team wants to admit. Is Shedeur Sanders already the guy? Drop your take in the comments, and subscribe so you don't miss a single Browns update this offseason.